Victoria. You might recognize me as Ember of Whitebridge. I have the honor of being the D&D grandmother's daughter-in-law, which sadly makes me the DM's wife. I have asked my fellow D&D party members to send me some questions they have for our DM. A little Q&A to hold us over until we all can sit at the table again. And since we've all wrapped up the first part, let's get some questions out that maybe our DM was unwilling to share until now.
I am an open book.
Sure you are. So, I have a couple questions. First, I'm going to start very generalized, like what type of DM you are.
Okay.
And then a little bit more...
Should we tell the audience that I don't know what the questions are? There's been no preparation here.
There's been no.
Victoria has the questions from the party. I don't know what they are.
This is all done behind his back.
We're going to be sharpshooting this.
Yes.
So.
Okay, so everyone always says... Always the biggest question for a DM is where do you get your inspiration? Mm-hmm. But I want to actually ask you, because I know, as your wife, I know you get inspiration everywhere from all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. But can you give us an actual example from, like, you know, a character you saw or some sort of idea that you were actually able to take and use, like how it translates?
I think the easiest one for that would be Cormion. Lord Cormion was obviously based on Dracula, but he was... more than just Dracula, he was specifically based on the 1979 film version of Dracula, the one starring Frank Langella. That character, the way that Langella played Dracula as a nobleman, like he didn't play Dracula as this beast of the night,
this creepy guy
who stalked the shadows, and that's not how he played him. He played him as a nobleman, you know, a very elegant, aristocratic type of guy who just happened to be a vampire. That was what built Cormion in my mind, and that was actually what kickstarted the entire campaign. Cormion was the first of several big bad story arcs you were going to face, and I just kind of built forward from that point. But that's probably the easiest counterpart that I can think of, just as an example. There's others I've pulled from other parts of fiction, movies, television shows, but that's the best example I can think of. Cormion.
Okay. I want you to actually give me a little bit more insight. I know that there's so many people out there who want to be a DM, and I feel anybody can watch a movie, read a book, listen to music that can inspire them. But I want you to give me some sort of insight, because you can write notes and get inspiration anywhere, but how are you able to actually take that and form it into a campaign? Sit down and have people interact with it. Like, what tools do you use?
Tools?
Well, I know I see you take your phone out and you'll be like, oh, let me make a note of that real fast. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's be ready to make notes on the fly constantly. Have some sort of notepad, whether it's an actual pen and paper notepad, whether it's the notepad program, whether it's, you know, Word document, have something running at all times where you can just scribble down, spoke to this person, you know, player did this, you know, that's... You have to understand that it's a living world, and that the players are going to do things that are going to change your plan, and you need to be ready for that. As far as making it your own, the biggest piece of that is just knowing your world, knowing your lore, knowing the history of your world. That way you can adapt anything they throw at you to that world. You don't want to get locked in too much to, you know, the path. This leads to this, leads to this. You want to be able to form it and just constantly understand the world is going to be living and reacting to what your players are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. My next question is, how much of your material that you've written, that you are taking all this time and energy into writing, how much of it was actually like left on the cutting room floor that never actually got there? Mainly because we foiled your plans. We did something to you.
How much? There's no way for me to know that, because sometimes there's a lot of... I could sit down with 1 page worth of preparation and get 4 hours out of it. There's also been times I've sat down with 30 pages of preparation and had to throw out 20 of them. You know, there's no way for me to know how much of it was left on the cutting room floor. I can give you one example. There was supposed to be... When you came back from fighting Okeanos, and you found out the Bone Chewers had taken over the city and they blew up the White Bridge, and that whole arc was supposed to be much longer. Kragan was supposed to get away. during the fight when Umbra kills him, he was supposed to get away. He had a scroll of teleportation on him that he was going to use to peace out. And then I was planning to get a whole other month at least of you all chasing him through the city and trying to track him down. I figured in that battle you were going to repel the Bone Chewers. You were probably going to take a big chunk out of them and hurt them badly. And then it was just going to be hunting him down and taking Kragan out. And then Umbra kills him in that battle. He's never able to get away. So that's at least 1 month worth of stuff that had to be fast-tracked. And that's why the campaign ended when it did, and that's why a certain big reveal about Rowena happened sooner than I had planned. Because I said, well, they just killed Kragan. Now what do I do?
Yeah, trying to fast-track.
There wasn't much left at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Now, bring that question in. You said that you said that Umbra kills him too quickly, essentially, for your plan.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah. So here's a question that your sister sent in, Denise, also
known as Sashim Thunderfoot.
Of course. She asked, what annoys you more? When a character rolls these amazing numbers and kills somebody quickly, or is just hacking away at them because they can't hit? Like, what actually gets under your skin more? Like, is it like, oh man, now I can't have my fun with my character? Or is it more of like, oh, this is tedious?
Neither one of those annoys me. If I had to pick between just those two, I guess I would say rolling the natural 20 to take out what I had planned would be more annoying, even though the players have a lot of fun with that, and if your players are having fun, you're DMing right. Yeah. So who am I to get annoyed at that? I never get annoyed at players rolling natural ones. I feel bad. I feel terrible. During the Okeanos fight when
Sashim specifically
Sashim couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a mallet, and I really felt bad for her because I could just see that dejected posture. She's sitting there with her shoulders slumped. And I've been there, done that when the dice are just not cooperating.
Yeah.
I think what annoys me the most is when you would over-focus on something that's totally irrelevant. It's like, guys, it's literally just a door. Just open the door and go in the tavern.
I think that's a universal.
Like, I want to roll an investigation and I want to talk to the door. I cast door speak.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a door. Things like that.
You're overthinking it,
Yeah, if anything annoys me, it's that.
Yeah. Okay. So now, one of my questions is, because I'm a DM, and I feel like I always have an issue with this when I am making my campaign and my adventures, is the monsters we're about to fight. So my question is, do you find a monster that you like and then you build around it? Or do you say you building your story and then you're like, oh, I got to throw a monster in there? Like, how do you find the monsters and how do you incorporate them into the game?
It's a combination of both. It sort of depends on what the party's doing and where they're doing it. If I need to throw a random encounter at you because I know you're going to be in the wilderness for a while and I need to break up the action, I'll say to myself, okay, where are we right now? We're in the mountains. Then I'll go to the Monster Annual. What lives in the mountains? So what could potentially be there? And that's the story and the world driving what the monster is. However, in the case of the Okeanos fight, I know you're chasing an ancient white dragon. I know he's going to have a lair. I know what the lair is going to be. And I know what should be around there. So and that's the case of you're going after the monster and I'm building everything around this monster. So frost giants are going to be there. Younger dragons are going to be there. You're probably going to pass a Remoraz or 3 on the way there. And it's a combination of the two. You need to be ready for one to drive the other and to shuffle things around as needed.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds really good. So now this is a question from Kristen.
Oh, fuck.
She always has these very unique questions. She's got a whole bunch here.
Oh, awesome.
So this.
Why am I not surprised?
Of course. So the first one that we have from her
Kristen,
is,
also known as Lady Sariel Tremaine.
of course,
LLC.
Oh my god. How did you develop that last dungeon? She admires she's always said that she loves that dungeon, but this one she actually says so many unique traps. She specifies that. So there were more than just walk into a room, fight. It was just like this random mist. What is it? And again, we overanalyzed it, but when we finally stepped through it, it was something we completely didn't expect. So where did you get all of those little tiny inspirations?
A good chunk of that dungeon was inspired from the Tomb of Horrors, which is in the Wizards of the Coast book. It's part 7 of the Tales from the Yawning Portal book.
Okay.
So that's where I got the idea for the mosaic tiles and the colorful, I think I described it as like small square bathroom tiles type thing. That's where I got that idea. And there's a lot of traps in there that involve mist and things like that. But when I read it, I didn't like what the traps completely did. Tomb of Horrors is specifically designed to be complicated with traps and a lot of investigation to figure things out. Put the blue one over here, put the orange one over here. I knew if I threw that at you guys, you'd be bored to tears. I know my party. I know what you guys would find fun and what you guys would just find tedious.
Yeah, only one or two of us would be like, this is fun. The rest of us would be like, I'm going to go get a snack.
You and Laura.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the table would fall asleep.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what would they find fun? What would get a reaction out of my family? What could I change here? And then the more I went for it, the more I began to change the dungeon. Tomb of Horrors also has multiple entrances. It also has multiple paths, which I've also learned I shouldn't do too much of that with the family. In dungeons, I try to keep it as linear as possible.
Yeah, one door, maybe a side chamber, and that's about
because,
it.
I know, and this is not an insult to the party, just this is the type of party it is. You guys would lose your way and backtrack, wait, now did we go this way? And I don't want you guys to have to focus on that. I want you guys to focus on the story and having fun. The easiest way for me to do that with the family is to keep it on a fairly linear path. Yeah, a lot of that, like in Tomb of Horrors, there's also a long corridor with multiple doors. But I changed what was behind those doors. In Tomb of Horrors, there's a big thing on the wall that's, when you look into the mouth, it's a sphere of annihilation. I didn't want to use the sphere of annihilation. I thought, I just didn't want to use it on you guys. So I changed it into the fact that Rowena programmed the Finger of Death spell. So when Tor looked into the mouth, he got hit with Finger of Death. Little things like that I just said, okay, what could I take and just make this more fun for you guys. Yeah. If I was running that for a different group, I might have done a completely different dungeon.
So I don't know who this is from. I might have changed this a little because I think a couple people asked it.
Okay.
But when you start a campaign, do you know how it's going to end, or do you have to improvise as the challenge dictates?
Yes. I knew from the moment I introduced her into the campaign that Rowena was the big bad. I didn't know how we were going to get there completely. I knew what she was up to. I knew what her plan was. But I didn't know... Like, for example, things could have happened that the Bone Chewers never show up. Things could have gone differently. There's little hints throughout the campaign. Podcast listeners, if you want to go back and re-listen, there's little hints in there that there's backdoor dealings going on. And if somebody had picked up on the scent of something other than something else, maybe the Bone Chewers never get a foothold and Rowena's got to change everything. So...
Aw, man, Wendell could still have his hand.
Wendell might still have had his hand.
I didn't know any of that.
The biggest thing that changed is the Battle of Whitebridge is the Durgars never breached.
We held them off.
Yeah, because Umbra decided to start shooting the cannons, and that was the end of that.
I destroyed some stuff.
You did. You destroyed the trebuchets, and Umbra on the Wyvern blowing up the cannons.
She just does so much damage with one single shot. It's insane.
I don't even want to talk about it right now.
Yeah.
I'm still a little...
You're still hurt. And that's where the question comes, is it more annoying for when they roll a crit? Like, that's what it is. Because we see your face is so dejected, and you're just like, I'm going to go home now, guys.
But here's the thing. I know that was one of Laura's best memories in the game, is her flying on the Wyvern and blowing up the cannons. So who the hell am I to get annoyed at that? My player's going to remember that probably for the rest of her life. So who am I to be annoyed at the fact that she did that? But to circle back to the question, that was a big thing. Like, you never figured out completely what Rowena's connection to General Kalzim was.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but if the Durgar's breached and got inside the city walls, the campaign goes totally different. From that moment, the campaign goes on a completely different track. So, it's a bit of both. It's like, I know who it is behind the curtain pulling the strings, but I don't know how we're going to get there. And you need to be able to adapt and have the world continuously move, and the cogs are always moving around what the party's doing.
Interesting. Is there anything in the campaign that you regret?
Oh, that's interesting.
Maybe something that you wrote in, a character you brought in, or something that you didn't develop enough?
I feel I missed some opportunities with the Kenku when you met the Kenku on the airship.
Okay.
I was focusing on having the Kenku mimic you guys. I should have had some pre-generated phrases that the Kenku had remembered from past things that it had heard that could have hinted at other things happening in the world. And that I felt was a missed opportunity. I could have done more with that. I still regret when you cured Lord Fergus Tremaine of the spell that Rowena had him under. I really wish I had remembered to put a hex bag on him somewhere.
Yeah, to pull back in the reference.
The reference to which I don't know if there's any questions about Rowena specifically, but she was inspired by Rowena from Supernatural, who's the witch on...
Oh, I can't stand.
I know, it's one of the reasons why I use that.
Oh.
She's the character played by Ruth Connell on the Supernatural series. And her being a witch, she uses hex bags to charm people. So that seems like a minor thing, but I did consider that a missed opportunity as well. So, if anything I regret, I mean, those are the two that I think of right now. But the only things that I would regret would be things like that. Things that I felt were missed opportunities. I still feel I could have done a little bit more with the Battle of Whitebridge. All of you guys told me no, it was epic, and I love you for it. But I listen to it now, and I see missed opportunities, things I could have done differently. But
I think everybody has that
yeah.
ability, because even in the battle, I was proud of myself when I took out a lot of people, but then I was so proud of myself that I went and I rescued Steven and I brought him back, and then I didn't know what to do with him. I was like, stay over there. No, you want to come? Okay. It was just like, I didn't know what to do. And I definitely played it off because my character didn't know what to do. Absolutely. But it was also me. But, yeah. Okay, here's another opposite question. What element of the game are you most proud of?
Ooh, element of the game I'm most proud of.
Something that you created, a character you created, or maybe a specific event, or like the Battle of Whitebridge. That is, I know because I live with you, how much effort you put into that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was a lot of planning and writing and rewriting and rewriting. You
had things timed, you had music timed, you had everything ready to go.
Laura fucked it all up.
Oh yeah. You were like, well, they're gonna fall back to the rally point, and that didn't happen.
No, they never breached. That changed everything. That could have been another 3 or 4 episodes of just the battle if that had gone differently. But I do love Wendell. I do. He was gonna be a throwaway character who was just gonna be kind of in the background, would pop up every now and then, until Laura came to me with her backstory about having a contact.
She came in later.
She joined us 2 sessions in. She didn't join us until the 3rd session, which was episode 10, is when we began the 3rd session. And she gave me her backstory about this contact that she had in the city that she was working for. And I started to think to myself, well, what if it's Wendell? What if Wendell was her contact? Nobody would see it coming. There's not a single person at the table who would expect it to be Wendell. And everybody was...
You threw us way off. Oh yeah.
And then I started to think about who Wendell could really be. Like what makes him tick? And could he still keep that? Oh, hello, good to see you. Could he still keep that front about him? And I really grew to enjoy playing Wendell. He was probably my favorite NPC.
Really?
Yeah.
Even above like Cormion and Rowena and
all the big ones I loved. I loved being Cormion, Rowena, the Doctor. I enjoyed playing all of them, but Wendell was special for me, at least. I really grew to like Wendell.
Yeah, that's very good. Wendell kind of had a crush on Umbra in the beginning.
Yeah, and then that, whatever.
Yeah. She's like, oh, let's be friends.
And that's fine. And I got that feeling that that's how Umbra wanted it to be, and I never forced the issue with that. So that is what it is. You know, when I hinted that the Doctor might have a little thing with Sariel, Kristen reacted totally differently. She jumped in with both feet, so we explored that storyline. Mm-hmm. Just follow your player's lead. Listen to what they want.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite episode of all time? One whole episode, a favorite from the entire last campaign. How many episodes are there?
After the rebrand, when we came back with starring D&D Grandma, and we came back with the wedding after the 3-year time jump, that was 30. And I think there was 48 prior to that.
Wow.
So 78 episodes total of this campaign. I don't know if I could pick just one. My favorite, gun to my head, is probably going to be the epilogue.
Really?
Yeah, gun to my head is probably the epilogue.
Can you explain why?
Oh, you guys got so into character that it just, watching you all just embrace your characters and just knowing that this campaign took you to that emotional place was very special to me.
So many tears.
Oh yeah, lots of tears.
And I have a bruise on my arm still from getting hit from Mom.
Mom still got it, man.
I had to move my chair across the table because she was so angry with me for my choices with my character. She bruised me.
She still got it, man. She still got the hand speed.
Oh, yeah. She's never lost it.
I forget the number of the episode, but it's prior to the time jump. The Horde Arrives is the name of the episode. It's right before the Battle of Whitebridge starts.
All of our planning.
It's when you're arriving at the wall and you're setting up, you're planning, you're going on the battlements. New Laura's going out with the Vanguard. Kristen. Sariel's setting up the hut. She's looking for her father. She's looking for Samwell. Sashim and Tor setting up their positions. Umbra jumping on the Wyvern. I
light all my candles.
You light all everything. That whole, I love that episode as well. It's tough for me to pick between the two, but those would be my two favorites. Okay,
all right. Can you recall one moment for each player in your campaign that you were proud or impressed with them? There's a lot of characters, there's a lot of us, but can you recall a moment where you were like, good job, Mom, or like, that was creative, or that was inspiring? It doesn't have to be, it can be a character, but I think that I feel like you yourself are more proud of like the person sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
Just because I know you.
Honestly, as much as I joke about it, Umbra shooting the cannons. Yeah. I was like, God damn it, Laura, that is so fucking smart.
Yeah.
Like, I would never have thought to do that. That's a big one for me. Not a story moment, but when I started realizing we played an entire session and Anthony didn't need my help at all.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have to help Anthony, I've had to help him a lot, like remembering his modifiers, add this, advantage for that. And then we played one entire session where I realized I didn't have to help him at all. He didn't ask me a single question. He rolled his dice. He knew what the damage was. He knew what the modifiers were. That was another, good job, dude. Awesome. When you see it click for the player, that's a big moment.
D&D is not easy. No, it's just not easy.
It's not at all.
It is such an acquired skill. You really have to practice. On your skills list, it should be D&D. There should be an option. It's tough.
When Kristen starts realizing rules for other players.
Yeah.
Goes, oh no, aren't you already concentrating on something? And I'm like, I'm so proud of you.
Or when you say something and she's like, oh no, that's concentration. Or no, that's 30 feet. And you're like, ah! Because she came to it so much later and she doesn't always have the confidence. Right?
She's getting better, though.
She's gotten a ton better in this campaign. Very, very impressed.
Oh, yeah.
Very impressed.
My best moment for Mom has not been revealed yet. It'll be revealed in the next campaign.
Oh.
And it's with the character she has built.
What? I don't like this.
She gave me a backstory that impressed the hell out of me, and I am very, very impressed. Very proud of her for what she's playing. Sashim, I would say how Denise dove in headfirst on the BFF thing with Sariel. I didn't expect that kind of role playing out of Denise. I didn't think she would take Sashim there, and she did in a great way. Yeah. And I loved it.
Even when she pulled it into the epilogue too, I think that was beautiful.
Yeah, it
shows the progression of their relationship, and it was great.
And your idea for Ember's epilogue too, I loved. It was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I figured she didn't ask for it. She didn't study it. It was not like she wanted it. Mm-hmm. She wanted to be home with her husband. That was her. Yeah. That was her whole thing.
And then being the flower girl at the end, that was a nice touch.
Okay, so now those were all of the characters we played. Who is your favorite big bad?
My favorite big bad?
Of the whole campaign?
Oh, how do I not pick Rowena?
Really?
Oh my god, how do I not
That's a gimme.
Rowena? She's so much fun to play, though.
Yeah.
And she was the... Cormion was kind of friends with you, too, but, like, Rowena was, like, a trusted ally. Like, she was in council meetings. She was in planning meetings. You went to her for help with Okeanos. And I'm sitting there laughing the entire time you're talking to her.
I think what's great is that when the Bone Chewers are attacking, I was like, we have to go to Rowena's. It's the only place that's safe. I'm like, oh, what an idiot. I'm like, I just jumped into her bed. Keep me safe. Ay. Final answer?
Yeah, how do I not pick Rowena?
All right. Boring. Okay, we're getting to the end now.
Oh boy.
We're getting to some good questions.
But I'm having fun.
We have a couple more, but I want you to think about these because they're good questions.
All right.
If you can choose one character from this campaign, this comes from Kristen, by the way.
Okay.
Preface. Choose one character from this campaign, either an NPC or a player, to have a drink with. Just sit down and have a drink with. Who is it and why?
The doctor, because he'd know where to get the really good liquor.
Really? He seems like a good time.
Yeah. If I was in the mood to go out on the town, the doctor. But honestly, me knowing how low-key I like to spend my evenings, and how I just like to tell stories, Adric Orcsbane.
Really?
Yep. If I could sit down and have a drink with one of them, Adric or Trevok, the dwarf who never spoke. That'd be even better.
Oh, God. He spoke in the end.
But yeah, if I was going to pick one, probably Adric Orcsbane, because he'd probably just sit down, have his beer, and mind his business. Maybe tell me some cool war stories.
Oh, goodness. All right, here's another good one. Why will you forever remember Whitebridge? What will you hold in your heart? What is the thing that you will remember always going forward?
The way it affected my players. And the way my players embraced it and really just lived the world. And that's why I love the epilogue, because that really illustrates it in a way that I can't with words. If you've listened to us, if you played the game, and you get to the end and see what that's our pit bull, ladies and gentlemen, that you hear right now.
That's his tail.
His tail whacking against the...
He's mad that we're not sitting on the couch.
That's what I will take away, is the way my players responded to Whitebridge.
Okay, very last question now.
Really?
Yeah?
Oh, I'm having a good time over here.
I'm sorry. How do you say goodbye to a world that you have created with your family?
I'm not saying goodbye to the world. The next campaign takes place in the same world. We're just moving to a different part of the world. And I don't need to say goodbye to even this part of the world, because there's nothing that says we can't revisit it. The Whitebridge campaign was designed to be a smaller campaign in terms of scope. We didn't really go too many other places. You did have that when you went after Okeanos, where you ventured into Winternight. But other than that, almost everything happens inside the city of Whitebridge. You do go to Greybreak at one point, and
I travel a little bit as like an ambassador.
Yeah, but that's
during the break.
That's during the time jump.
Yeah.
There was the detour into the Feywild, but for the most part, 80% of the story happens inside Whitebridge, and I kind of designed it that way. It's supposed to be. I told a few players coming into this campaign that it was going to be more of an independent movie rather than a Michael Bay blockbuster, and I think I achieved that. This one coming up is going to be a larger scale campaign.
Not Lord of the Rings, right? Just more of like a... Maybe like Fast and the Furious.
We're going to be going all over the new continent. There's going to be, there's going to be all kinds of things happening in the continent. It's going to be a much larger, more epic campaign. But, and there's nothing that says there won't be a mission that sends you to Balkania. So who knows? We'll see what happens. But I will miss these characters very much. I will miss running for them. I will miss seeing what hijinks they get into. But I'm very much looking forward to the new ones as well.
I believe all of your party members will be listening to this, because none of them are going to find out any other way.
True. No, I'd rather let the campaign that we just played speak for itself. There's nothing I need to say, especially the way it ended. It ended perfectly. I'd rather just let that speak for itself and just looking forward to what waits for us down the road.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this lovely interview. You were a model person coming to join me today. You came on time.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, Victoria.
Yeah, of course.
It was my pleasure. Perhaps we can do it again sometime.
It's stupid.
Did I slip into Samuel a little bit?
No, Samuel.
I can do Wendell instead.
No,
Hello.
what about Steven?
Steven, hi.
Okay, there's my last question.
Hi.
I refuse on this. This is my last question. Why do you make him sound so wimpy? He's not wimpy.
I didn't intend to make him sound wimpy. I wanted
like freaking Ronald Weasley.
Ronald wasn't a wimp.
Exactly. He acts like a wimp in the movies, but he's not a wimp. Why did you make my lovely Steven, who is a warrior, why'd you make him
I didn't want to make him a wimp. I wanted to make him out of his element a little bit. I wanted to play him as having to deal with a wife that left him, who was a common flower girl, and now she's this epically powerful sorceress. And it's like two completely different people in his mind, and he doesn't quite know how to process this adventuring, and oh my god, you kill dragons, what is this? Like, I wanted to play him as a guy who was completely out of his element. And it did come off as wimpy, even though I was not trying to make him a wimp. That's why I made him, like, jump every time you casted Sending Man. Like, what is that? Because he doesn't, what is this? Like, I don't know what this shit is. I was trying to play him as someone who was out of his element. That was the goal with Steven.
So maybe that's your biggest regret.
Regret? No. I'm very happy with the way I played Steven.
My poor husband, you made him a wimp. My husband made my fake husband a wimp. All right. That'll be my last question.
Okay.
All right.
This was great, babe. Listen to the new campaign.
Yes. If you made it all the way to this point, thank you so much for listening. And we will hopefully be back to entertain you very soon. Okay. Thanks. Bye. That's my sign off.